And welcome to Botany class. I'm Mr. Blackhurst. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of plants. Plants have all kinds of uses, but of course, one of the big ones is photosynthesis. All life on Earth is pretty much due to this process here. Plants are the only ones that can do it besides algae. And basically, what they do is they take water and carbon dioxide, they turn it into carbohydrates and oxygen. So all the oxygen that you're breathing now has come as a direct result of the process of photosynthesis. Now, of course, botany class, we're just getting started out here. Botany is a study of plants, and very important to have a good understanding of this. Of the 350,000 plant species that are identified, about 10,000 of those are used for food. And of course, growing plants and animals is called agriculture. And agriculture is one of those things that enabled us to become a modern society. Before agriculture, we were too busy trying to survive. We were hunters, we were gatherers, and basically you were too busy trying to survive. With agriculture, that gave us more time to start doing things like art and science, and then that led us to um, language and industrial revolution and things like that. So, very important. Artificial selection, that's kind of where we've taken the older plants, we've taken plants and we just take the ones that have the best stock, the ones that are the best producers, produce the most food. We plant those, and then over years and years and years of going through that process, that enables us to get the best ones, and so the crops have changed quite a bit over the years. And of course, the only reason modern society exists is because of agriculture. We get amazing yields right now, so we're pretty blessed to live in the time that we do. We've got it pretty easy. As far as the major food crops go, cereals, basically these come from grasses. That's your rice, wheat, corn, oats, barley. Rice and wheat are probably the big two there. Corn more recently. Root crops, those are ones that obviously grow underground from a root, but potatoes, beets, carrots, things of those nature. And legumes, those are huge as well. So beans, soybeans, peanuts are actually legumes. Um, any of those type of things, those are our main staples, and especially the rice, wheat, corn, and beans. Those that makes 90% of the world's diet. So those are really, really important food crops. Some of the other ones that are important as well, having a well-rounded diet. You want to get a lot of fruits. Fruits have a lot of vitamins and stuff with it, and fruits aren't always the way we define them. Most of the time you think of fruits, you're thinking of apples, oranges, grapes, stuff like that. But actually peppers, tomatoes, your avocado, you can see that those are all fruits because they have a seed inside of them. Um, Vegetables, these are going to be things derived from leaves or stems or seeds, or soft roots of a plant. So those are going to be actually what are technically considered vegetables. And a lot of those are going to be spinach, asparagus, and so on. Nuts are the other main category of those. Those are going to have a hard outer shell. Peanuts technically aren't a nut, they're actually a legume. But almonds, things along those lines, walnuts, pecans, um, all very, very high in nutrition. They have a lot of fats, but they're good quality fats and also very high in protein. So, very valuable food source as well. Um, Plants are also used to make what we're eating a lot better. Um, Spices come from parts of the plant other than the leaf. Those are going to come from seeds. They might come from the bark. They might come from other things like that. Um, Herbs, on the other hand, actually come from the plant leaves. Good example of this, I like to grow cilantro in my garden. Um, Now, more times than not, I just eat the cilantro. I love throwing it like in pico de gallo, or if I can do cilantro lime rice, that's also really tasty. But once you let it go to seed, you get a spice called coriander. And basically, for coriander, you just take those seeds and kind of grind them up, and that makes a good spice as well. And finally, they use that for flavoring. So coffee, tea, chocolate, cola, stuff like that. Those are flavorings and stuff that come from plants. A lot of non-food uses of plants as well. One of the big ones is medicine. So aspirin, Native Americans would get aspirin from willow bark, and that's kind of the source there. They'd use that to control pain, and that's still used for that today. Still very effective. Um, if you look at our modern medicines as well, you look at things like opioids, which of course can be very addictive when misused. But if you think of surgery 100 years ago, there weren't any sedatives, there weren't any of those things to put you under. If you had to have your appendix taken out, you would have to bite a stick. Well, you'd take a couple shots of whiskey first, bite a stick. Everybody would hold you down while the surgeon cut your appendix out. So I, for one, am thankful for opioids in that respect. And a lot of other plants used for medicines as well. A lot of the modern drugs that we have that you'd get prescribed by your doctors and stuff like that are derived from plants. We use those for clothing. So cotton, so jeans, most of your t-shirts are usually going to be cotton, although a lot of them have nylon mixed in with that. That's a synthetic fiber. Hemp is another one. That's one that's actually picking up a lot of momentum as a cash crop here in Colorado. It grows well in dry climates, and it's a fantastic fiber. They use that in a lot of clothing and stuff like that as well. We can make fuel out of it. So basically you can take any type of sugar or starch and ferment it and turn it into fuel. So about 10% of the fuel that you put in your gas tank is actually ethanol, which is in our country is probably made from corn. But basically they just ferment that. They make concentrated alcohol and that becomes fuel. And if you think about it, fossil fuels, so oil, coal, natural gas, stuff like that, those are derived from plants that have been buried underground for a couple 100 million years. So those are technically non-food uses of plants also. Additionally, they use those to produce cosmetics, perfumes, stuff like that. Cosmetics, stuff like lipstick, used to be actually based on whale fat. So nice that they use they use plants, not animals, for that nowadays instead. Lumber, of course, your house is probably made out of wood, your furniture, things like that. The paper that we use to write. Rubber that your tires are made out of. That has a lot of other uses as well. Cork, not just wine corks, but they use that for a lot of different industrial uses, and paints and stuff like that as well. As far as plants in the environment goes, we talked a little bit about photosynthesis and stuff already, but photosynthesis is amazing. So we talk about global warming all the time, and a lot of that has to do with carbon dioxide emissions. When we drive our car, we're taking carbon dioxide that's been out of the environment for a couple 100 million years and dumping it back in faster than it can adjust. But keep in mind, the plants are a cleanup crew. So the damage that we do, if we let the plants work and do their thing, they'll actually take that extra carbon dioxide out of there. They give off oxygen as a byproduct, and in a lot of cases when it does that, it creates food for consumers as well as habitat for animals and stuff like that. Additionally, plants help with the soil as well. A lot of plant and animal and microbe interactions that are really important too. Animals, of course, are pollinators, and so they're going to fertilize the plants. They're going to go from one flower to the other. That allows them to have sexual reproduction take place because the plants are kind of stationary. Flowering plants, a lot of times, a flower, basically its whole purpose is for reproduction. It's going to have pollen. It's going to have nectar, which is kind of reward there, and then it's going to have a smell that attracts them in. Most of the time we have the ones that smell really nice, but there's probably just as many flowers that smell really nasty and attract things like flies and stuff like that in to pollinate as well. Another really important one, maybe one that you didn't know about, is mycorrhizae, and that's basically a symbiotic relationship between fungus and plants. But mycorrhizae basically they help roots absorb more water and stuff like that as well. So that's going to be really important thing to add to the soil. We'll be talking about that a little bit later as well. And then one of the last ones is nitrogen-fixing bacteria and roots. So a lot of your legumes, stuff like that, they actually have those nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil, they will take that and add that to the soil and make it a lot more fertile. It's just a good natural fertilizer there. Then as far as your native and non-native plants are ones that belong in a certain area. Non-native are ones from the outside. Some of this we do on purpose, where we bring plants in with us as we humans move into a new area. Some of them just kind of are hitchhikers, and then they kind of spread out from there. But yeah, non-native are foreign species introduced, so dandelions, stuff like that. Those are good examples like that. Crabgrass kind of come along with us, and those can be a problem too because those can outcompete a lot of native species. And that's kind of the end we have for now, but thank you for listening. Hope this was helpful.